This is Inspirational Women, a weekly series shining the spotlight on female trailblazers making a true difference in our community. Once again, here is Kate Daniels.
Gina Tarnacki has called the Puget Sound home for more than a decade, and in embracing it has traveled the state and chronicled some of the best and wonderful places to visit in her book, 100 Things to Do in Washington State Before You Die. There's still so much adventure time on the calendar to put some ideas to work for us. Gina Tarnacki, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so grateful you've come into the studio this morning.
Yeah, this is fun. I've never been in a radio studio before.
Well, see, maybe that's going to be another adventure in another book, right? Who knows? But I'm really happy to have you here because this new book of yours, 100 Things to Do in Washington State Before You Die. And you're a transplant to Washington. Mm-hmm. So what an adventure to write a book like this. And you probably know the state better than most of us.
Yeah, it definitely got me out there to the places I haven't been to yet. So we've been here for about 10 years and almost exactly 10 years. And so we travel a lot, though, like doing road trips to Montana. When I say we, I'm talking about like my husband and my two kids. And lots of times even I'll just go to Montana to see my family with my kids in tow, and we'll stop along the way at places in Washington to explore. So when I decided to write this book, I felt like, I was like, I've got this. I've seen so much of Washington. But then once I started really researching and making lists, I realized, oh my gosh, there are still so many places I need to go check out. So yeah, my fall that year I was working on the book was just basically gone every weekend, exploring new places, going back to some places I had already been but felt like I needed to go back to just to see, like, are they the same as I remember? Have they changed? Like places maybe I hadn't been to since the first couple of years I lived in Washington. So it was really fun to get just around the entire state and have an excuse for doing so.
Yeah. And so when you would go back and explore some more of the areas, again, it would be your entourage, your husband and kids.
Yeah, not always my husband, because sometimes he has to work and my kids are elementary school age. So sometimes I'll take them out. I'll be like, yeah, you can miss a day or two and come have an adventure with your mom. But then there are lots of weekends, too, where it's just like, I need to hit the ground running this weekend. And there's so many places I need to see. And so he would just hold the fort back at home with the kids while I would gallivant off to the coast or to Eastern Washington.
Oh, gosh. Does it feel like work when you have to go make this trip?
Not really. But then sometimes a little bit when you're just against time and it's like, okay, I've got to get back home by this day, and I'm driving all over, and I'm like, I'm so sick of driving, and I just don't want to go to another place. But I'm like, no, I have to, because when I'm going to be back here, and so sometimes that can be a little, like, it'd be nice if I just had a limited time, but when you're on a time frame and there's like lots of places you need to check off, and I always like to give myself extra time to just like be in a place and see if there's something that catches my eye that maybe wasn't on my list. So that sometimes can feel a little stressful, but still, like, I'm not complaining. It's a really fun job.
Well, so how long did it take you to compile all of these 100 places?
Yeah, so probably about 6 months. Yeah, I would say about 6 months I was doing like the research and traveling and narrowing it down. And then after that, it was about like 2 months of just straight writing. And I was writing a little bit as I went along, but a lot of that was just taking notes. Sometimes I would go, be in a destination, and then I'd go to a restaurant and just sit and write. But then, putting it all together and just making that final decision of what the 100 was going to be was hard, and having to like cut some places that I loved, but I'm like, I just don't think it's the right fit, or I already have too many places or things in this particular location, because I really wanted to share all of Washington. You could definitely, and there is a book, just on Seattle. So there's so many things to do, like just in this little area of Western Washington. But I wanted to make sure I covered like all facets of the state. So I'm in some hard cuts.
And I think that you really did accomplish that, because it feels like all these different locations, some of the places that I wasn't even really aware of. So Eastern Western Washington. And then there's a page, one of the items is visiting the four corners of the state.
That's one of my favorites.
Is it actually?
Yes, yeah. And like, it's beautiful. Like Madeline Falls, I love. It's just this cute little town. And I don't know if anybody watches the show Virgin River, but I feel like it's Pacific Northwest, like version of the Virgin River town, like just this little tiny town, like in these mountains, and there's a cute little cafe there, and then also it's not in the book because he started again after I was done writing the book, but I stopped there just recently, And there's just a guy who opened up in the historic hotel a little like, I think it's like Italian, like meatball subs type of fare. But you go in there and I feel like that's like the town bar. Like there were locals hanging out there when I went in, and the food was really good and he was super friendly. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this little town. Maybe I should move to a little town like this.
So that's great. I mean, for scoping out like for the future, like where might we want to resettle, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably never leave Sammamish, but we love Western Washington and the East Side. But yeah, who knows? Maybe. Like I do have a lot of family in Montana, little towns, like farm towns. So I see the appeal of that type of life too.
Yeah. Well, you probably get a taste of it too, because you mentioned in your bio that you actually have a place out on the Sound.
We do, yeah. So we're on like a little island in between like Everett and Whidbey, and we love it there. It was just like a little fixer-upper cabin we kind of saw one year, and just like my husband's like, I think I can fix that up. Like it's all stuff I can do. Like the bones are good. So we spent a few years. He like built the deck. He updated the walls and all that. That needed a lot of work. And now it's just like our happy place where we can go and be really close to the water and see whales and crabs. And I spent 10 years living in San Diego, so I'm definitely an ocean person. But up here, I feel like I'm even closer with the way Puget Sound is. I'm even closer to wildlife than I ever was going to the beach every day in San Diego, just because of the way like the tides come in and go out and all the little critters you can see. And it's not just like these huge waves and all the coral. And I just love Puget Sound. So
I have to say, I'm a transplant here, but I do love it here. I think it's kind of got the best of all worlds. Yeah,
yes, it does.
Doesn't it though? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so and we have the 4 seasons, which really makes a difference.
And we even get snow a few days a year usually, but then it quickly goes away. It's not like Montana or Minnesota, both places I've lived, where the snow never leaves. It feels like sometimes.
Yeah, I'm originally from central Canada, from Manitoba, where the snow was there for months and months and months. So here, I even can complain if it's here for a week. That's too long, right?
Yes. Well, it kind of like shuts everything down. So yes.
But here we have, in your book, that's one of the places we can experience the snow. If we haven't had it, somebody wants to have it, they take a gondola ride. Oh,
exactly. Yeah. Or you can just go up to like Snoqualmie Summit for the day. And there's even if you don't ski, there's like tubing and snowshoeing and very attainable stuff to do. And it is crazy how when you're driving over that Cascade Pass, like or Snoqualmie Pass, that it's like raining on this side, and then you get up there and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like this beautiful snow. So when you have those options, or even going like a few hours more to Tri-Cities, which has like the most sunny days in all of Washington each year, usually on average. If you're able to like get out sometimes on the weekends or during the week, there are definitely ways to escape like the never-ending rainy gloom of Washington.
Yes.
So.
Oh, that's right. Just go over to the other side of the state.
Yeah.
And it's almost like another country. I remember my brother saying that when he first visited and left this side and went across, he went, where are we? Getting into the middle of all this flat land and deserty like, But it has its own beauty. You mentioned the Tri-Cities. I had no idea that there was this wonderful biking trail that has so much to offer.
Yeah, I really like the Tri-Cities. I actually have a cousin and an aunt and uncle who live there. And it's a great little area. And lots of wineries, too, if you like that. But, outdoor pursuits. And you can definitely, I think it kind of gets overlooked as being just a bunch of, like, bedroom communities. But there's so much to do there. So, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And, of course, continuing down, I don't know if that's where the wineries are. There wineries in that area?
There are more in the Richland, the city of Richland. I think not so much in Kennewick, but both Kennewick and Pasco, I believe, have some little like urban wine villages where there's like tasting rooms, kind of like downtown Woodinville. But yeah, Richland has like legit like wineries with vineyards you can go and check out. So.
And you mentioned, and I didn't quite gather how it was, but there's wineries where you can just walk between the different ones. So you don't have to worry about driving. You could go. Is it in the Tri-Cities area?
Yeah. So the Tri-Cities has one of those in Kennewick. I'm blanking on its like official. I think it's Columbia Gardens. And then, but yes, there's also like downtown Woodinville has lots of wineries you can walk between. And then just a little west of the Tri-Cities is Prosser. And they also have like a little like wine area that's easy to walk among the wineries and stuff.
Yeah. So you could go over there for a nice weekend or go during the middle of the week for 1 or 2 or 3 nights or so and really enjoy so many different experiences.
Oh, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Including those wineries, if you like that.
Yeah, to be like what?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So aren't you in the right place then to have all these wineries around, right?
Yes, I know. And when I was doing like my weekend research in that area, like especially in Walla Walla, my husband's like, no fair. You're just going to like all these wineries. I'm like barely tasting the wines. It's not that fun actually to go to a bunch of wineries by yourself and then be like, well, here I am. No one to talk to. Although I'm pretty good at rolling up to like a bar and chatting with people. But yeah, that's the other thing about the travel writer. Like I think sometimes my husband just thinks I'm off, like just doing all these things where it's like, no, I'm in like writing, reporting mode, like asking questions, talking with people. Like I'm not going to go have, a bottle of wine. I'll take a little sip or get a wine to bring home with me to try later. But yeah, so a lot of these, I do think that a lot, like especially in Walla Walla. I was like, oh, I want to come back here with my husband and have a proper getaway here.
And that's another beautiful town, a college town.
Yeah, it's so cute. Yeah, I like Walla Walla a lot.
Yeah. So as a travel writer, were you a writer first and then got to travel writing? Or are you just this traveler, passionate about doing that, and then the writing skill came along?
I guess kind of both, but no, writing came first. I've always wanted to be a writer from the time I was a little kid, and I was always writing stories and stuff. And then in college, I ended up going the broadcast journalism route. Yes, and then decided that wasn't the right fit for me. And so after college, I kind of, I don't know, jumped from like job to job for a little bit, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and ended up. And I did study abroad in college. I went to England, and that's kind of what first gave me my big travel bug. But then I ended up, after college, landing at online travel agency in San Diego that did, so for them, I wasn't a travel agent, but I did like online marketing and PR for them. And then gradually that turned into managing like all of their content, like online blog for the website. And so that kind of gradually from there, as I evolved in my career, and then my husband and I got married and we were talking about having kids, I decided to go freelance. So then I did a lot of freelance travel writing, worked with a lot of cruise lines, and kind of started building up my own blogs. So I had one for, well, it's still up, but I don't do as much with it anymore, but it's called One Day in a City. And that for a while there, especially before kids, I was traveling like especially Europe, all over Europe all the time and writing, and that was really fun. And so that kind of became a business as well. And then during the pandemic, I started a Montana blog that was doing pretty well. And it just kind of, so for the freelance stuff, kind of trickled out a little bit during the pandemic. And that was okay in the long run. I feel like with little kids at home, it was a lot of juggling. And so that kind of gave me time to refocus on the blogs where I can make my own deadlines. But through the Montana blog, Reedy Press, who publishes these 100 Things to Do books, reached out and was wondering if I wanted to write one about Billings, Montana, which is where I was born. And my mom and sister, one of my sisters still lives there. So I was like, yeah, that would be great. I would love to do that. I'm like, but I don't actually like live there right now. We visit a lot. But what if I see my mom just retired? What if I see if my mom would be willing to write it with me? So I actually ended up writing it with my mom. She did a lot of like the on-ground research. Yeah. And then I did a lot of writing, and then she went through and did a lot of like editing. She's very good at editing, which is awesome. Because I think a lot of writers will say that editing is like their least favorite part of the process. So we were like a great team. It was much fun writing that book. So then like after that came out and we did the initial push for it, I was thinking about how they didn't have one for Washington. They had some for like Tacoma and Seattle and Spokane, but not like an actual like all of Washington. And they were starting to do more states instead of just the cities. So I pitched my editor and publisher at Reedy Press and just said, hey, I could do this. Like, I've been here 10 years. I know a lot. And would you be open to that? And they were. And so then soon here the book is. So it was kind of funny how I was doing a lot of like online freelance stuff, blogging, because it seemed like, everyone's saying like books are dead. Nobody reads books anymore. But now I feel like I've gotten like kind of a second career writing like books you can hold, which was always my dream as a kid. So I feel like it's come full circle.
Yeah. Wow. To see a dream come true. Isn't it fun?
Oh, it is. Yeah. So I think as a kid, I was like, oh, I'm going to write like the next great American novel. But this, and I get to travel. This is pretty awesome, too.
Yes. And it's at Seattle Public Library.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
I know the library gets mentioned in
Yes,
the book.
it does.
So,
well, that's good.
yeah.
I haven't even checked if it's at any of my local libraries. It is fun, though, to go into bookstores and just suddenly see it. Like, there's some I know, like, is carrying it, but then others around the state. Like, we were in Poulsbo and stopped into the little bookstore there, and I'm blanking on its name now. But it's like, the main little bookstore in downtown Poulsbo. And we walk in, and I wasn't even, like, looking for the book. I was just, it's a bookstore, so I go in. Like, that's what I do. I can't walk past a bookstore and not go in it. And then my little daughter, my youngest, all of a sudden was like, Mom, there's your book. And, like, pointed at it. And I was like, oh, my gosh. So that was fun. You know, it's fun to just suddenly be surprised by it out in the wild. Yeah. I don't think that'll ever get old for me.
Oh, well, see, that's good. You know, to have that kind of enthusiasm. I think that it's just good to have. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of book events, I think I noticed that there is one coming up at the end of August.
Yeah, so that one's a little tricky. I put it on there because we do get a lot of visitors on Hat Island, right? Is that the one for Hat Island?
Yes, it's Hat Island.
Yeah, so they do a little art fair every year, but that's the one that you have to like boat into that island or know someone to get onto their ferry. So it's a little trickier to visit. I was hoping by the time we did this interview, we'd have a couple more set up, but then I decided I kind of wanted to just enjoy August. You'll be mad at me, publishers. But yeah, but we're going to try to get a lot more events on the calendar for the fall and winter.
Okay. So. Well, and that would be the reason to go to the website and check that out so that, people can come and see you face to face. So your website?
Oh, yeah. So evergreenandsalt.com is my newest website. So that one's more about the Pacific Northwest. It's similar to what I was doing with my Montana one, which is still up and running, but focusing more on Washington and Oregon, and maybe a little bit of California, since we still go back to visit a lot. So yeah, just a little more localized.
Well, it's a wonderful website because not that I've spent a lot of time there yet, but you have those what you could do in a day or what to do when you get to visit somewhere, and I think that really is great to help when we're kind of like floundering. Where shall I start? It has a good focus and where you might eat, points of interest.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that does help. And then my very first website, weekday.com, that's like kind of was my whole thing, especially since back then I worked a lot in the cruising industry. And that kind of got to start because I was on a cruise one time, and this was back like my late 20s. And so I was talking to this honeymoon couple, and we had just been in Mykonos, Greece, and we met each other at the bar, and they're like, oh, what'd you do in port? So my husband and I were like, oh, we went to like Paradise Beach and like rented some four-wheelers and stuff to get there. And she was like, oh, that was like my dream, and we couldn't go. And I'm like, why? Oh, that's sad. Why didn't you go? And she's like, well, it wasn't a shore excursion. I'm like, and that's when I was like, oh, you don't have to do shore excursions on cruises. Like, I know they want you to do them, but like you do not have to. I mean, most of the time I don't. Like, I figure it out on my own. But I'm also, travel a lot, and so have kind of that skill set and confidence to know that I can figure this out.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of what started One Day in a City, was just showing people that you can do this on your own. Here's how to spend a day. Here's like the way to get into the city, like from a cruise stop or from like the main train station or like even the airline. And just the best things to do, the ways to explore on your own. And then for this was like 10 years ago, but like my One Day in Mykonos post was like one of my top articles for years. So yeah, that's kind of how it got started. Now I'm gradually moving some of my West Coast content on that site to evergreenandsalt.com. The blogging's changed a lot in the past few years, and so One Day in a City, I'm kind of just like, there's still stuff up there and it's still great content, but I'm not really updating it anymore and moving some of my stuff that's more about the United States or the West Coast anyway over to my new site.
Yeah. Makes sense. Constantly changing, evolving, new things are happening. You just make them fit there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. And especially working in the online space for the past, I guess it's been about 15 years. I mean, it's just crazy how much has changed even from when I first started. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, things change. I mean, so fast, you have to be careful that you don't get whiplash, I think. It's just...
So it did happen to bloggers a couple years ago. But we won't go into that. But yes, it was like a whiplash sensation. Like, all right, we all have to pivot real fast here.
Yeah. So you've been through a lot and you've learned how to pivot, and this is so amazing. The life that you're creating, the career that's here, and it fits so well with having young kids.
It does. Yeah, it really, really does. Although they're so, they're little kids. They're just like, Mom should always be available to us. So after this was done, they're like, all right, Mom, so you're not going to write another book, right? Because you had to do a lot of traveling and writing and you weren't here. And then I was like, well, I don't know. I might. We'll see, girls. But Mommy can have a career too, which is, I think it's good for them to see. But now that the book's out and they can physically like flip through it and see it, I think they think it's pretty awesome.
Well,
like,
sure.
Oh, when are you going to write another book? Now it's like switched to when are you going to write another one, Mom?
Well, because your younger daughter found that one at the bookstore and said,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
book. So it's pretty exciting to have a popular mom, right?
I guess. I don't know if they would say I'm popular, but yes, I think they think it's fun.
Well, but travel books should be fit into a popular category we're promoting that because if we go somewhere and you're kind of just floundering, you want to be able to touch on the key part, like that woman on her honeymoon, right? She
for sure.
wanted to see this thing. So if you're helping guide us to these really great places, I mean, we want to have the book.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I still, too, every time if I'm planning a trip, I love Europe. And every time I'm planning a trip, the first thing I do is go to the bookstore and get Rick Steves' book on that Europe destination. He's never steered me wrong in 20 years of using his books. So, and I always joke to my husband, like, I have the Rick Steves book. The trip's happening. So, but yeah, I love Rick Steves. I haven't met him, even though I know he's local, too.
Yes,
to get him on your show.
He's not that far from here. I think he's around Edmonds area.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, look at this great company. And it would make sense you should meet him. You're in the same industry.
I know, right?
Yes.
Although I think he's a little bigger than me.
Well, but
no, I've heard he's a really, really nice guy.
That's what I've read too, and I mean he comes across that way.
Yeah.
As a really genuine person. So yeah, I don't know. Somewhere in your future,
maybe
your paths must cross.
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing what he's done too with his travel business and the way it started. So he kind of shows that even for little independent writers like me, like the sky can be the limit. You don't know what could end up happening.
Exactly. Yes. I think so much of this has to do with our passion, our dreams, and, well, taking chances, of course. We can't really scale a mountain if we're going to be playing it safe.
Yeah.
We have to be smart about it. But, yeah, you have to go outside that comfort zone,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
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 So in these travels, was there any going out of your comfort zone? In Washington State.
Yeah, in Washington State. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. I don't know. I think the ones that there's a couple in here that I didn't do, and those are probably the ones that would have gone out of my comfort zone, but I just didn't have a chance to figure out the logistics to do it. I will, so I can get all these things checked off someday. But for example, like the Enchantments hike, that's on here. And in the sidebar, I gave some options because for some people, and including maybe myself, that's just not an attainable hike that's like in the Cascades. It's like an all-day through hike that's like, I don't know, 17, 18 plus hours. And it's really hard to get like an overnight permit for that area to camp so you can break up the hike. So a lot of people do it in a day. So I have a friend who did a couple times. So I had her read my entry and just be like, does this sound good? Anything I need to change? Because I'm definitely not going to have time to figure out how to do this hike before the book comes out. Yeah. But had I done that hike, that definitely would have put me out of my comfort zone. I like hiking, but that one sounds very, very intense. And so she made sure to have me edit it to be like, be prepared or you might die. I don't think that's exactly what I put, but I try to put that out there. And then I also put in some other options too for how to experience that area of Washington, but maybe not do the entire through hike.
Yes. And see, that's the thing that's also really invaluable about 100 Things to Do in Washington State is the sidebars, or try this. You give tips on what's going to make it, I think, really a good experience, a fun experience for us.
Yeah, and I was hoping through those tips as well, you could turn, even if it's just like a one thing, like one entry, right? Do this, but by giving some of those tips, you like just extra ideas for how to turn it into a weekend getaway while you're in that location or something. Like I think I do kind of do that with the Long Beach area. Like that's in here a little bit with like little tips for how you could really have like a good weekend or long weekend on the Long Beach Peninsula.
Yes.
Which is another area I love. I love all of Washington.
So you can't pinpoint. Well, you did pinpoint up in the northwest corner, right? Yes. The little...
Medellin Falls.
Yes.
That's northeast. So northwest corner.
Northeast, that's right.
Northwest corner is Cape Flattery, which is also amazing. I went there with my girls, and they still talk about going on all those little boardwalks to get to each point to see the Cape. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Southeast is also very like river central, like those types of activities, and so
yeah, so many fun places,
and so different.
Yes, the whole state, it has so much diversity, which makes it really so exciting to visit. So you said you had to edit out some of the places. You couldn't put them all in. So could there be the next 100 things to do in Washington?
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah, some of the smaller places to put in, or some of the ones like I mentioned before, like Seattle, I already had, or, one of my favorite stores in all of Washington is Metzger Maps by Pike Place in Seattle.
Yes.
Like, of course I love it. It's like travel books and maps and, I just love it. But I had already, I had Pike Place Market in here already because it's just iconic. Even though everyone knows it, I still felt like it needed to be included. And so that's so close. And then I also had like 8th Generation, which is across the street.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, I don't think I can fit another Pike Place one in here. But that one was really painful to cut because I just love that store so much. But, so stuff like that, like, and then the bookstores too. When I first sent this over, I had I think 10 or 15 more bookstores on here than are actually listed in that entry, like to visit an independent bookstore. And my editor kept being like, you have to cut this, you have to cut this. I'm like, oh, this is so hard. I don't want to cut all these bookstores. I love them all. But so that's hard too. I feel like, I could write a book just on bookstores, just because I love bookstores so much.
See, so I guess that's where those different threads intersect, is loving to write, writing, creating books, and then bookstores. I mean, libraries too.
Yeah.
It all just commingles.
Oh, for sure,
right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is definitely such a great read. And your descriptions, that's where it really felt like you are a writer first, because you have a way with words that just is different than kind of just factual. It just really melds it together to be an experience and, to draw us in. Well, one of the first ones I read, because I just kind of was flipping through the book at first, was a pizza place, which I live in Auburn. So I thought, we can just go straight south on this highway. Now I'm not going to remember the name of the town, but it's south of Buckley.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. Now, why am I blanking on the name of the town? But Carlson Block is the pizza place. Hold on. I think it's number 3 in the book, right? Wilkeson.
Yes. So, things like that will make us, draw us into traveling to somewhere, because it's like this unique pizza that's there. And we find this wonderful little town.
Yeah, and it is a cute little town, right? Very, very tiny Main Street, but very darling Main Street. So, it's definitely worth a drive through.
Yeah. So let's mention the website again, for one.
Okay, so for the most recent updates on my book, it's evergreenandsalt.com. And then that same name is my handle on Instagram, too. I'm not a huge social media person, but I try to put updates for the book on there.
Great. And of course, what we want to do is to encourage you getting your own copy of the book at one of the independent bookstores,
yes,
right?
Yep, yeah. Yeah, I was just in Island Books on Mercer Island yesterday, so I know they have some, and like brick and mortar. And you just never know. You might pop into one and see it there.
Yes, exactly.
And if not, ask, so they'll stock it.
Precisely. That's exactly it. Always ask, because I think they are always happy to order a book if they don't have it for you.
Yeah.
Well, Gina Tarnacki, this has been great fun to kind of experience the state vicariously, and then you're inviting us to get there and experience it in person.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for being here this morning to meet these special guests who are doing so much to make a difference in the lives of so many people, including themselves. Please check the station's website for the podcasts for more information about these guests, and please share the stories with your family and friends. I'm Kate Daniels. If you'd like to connect with me, simply send me an email, katedaniels@hubbardradio.com. I leave you with this thought. Life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you.
Thank you for listening to Inspirational Women. Tune in every Sunday morning at this time to hear about those truly empowering the Northwest community, all for the greater good. Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women are a public service of Hubbard Radio Seattle.